Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than the standard format of my videos because I'm just going to do a screen recording on my phone. So what you're looking at right now is a ChatGPT prompt that kind of ties into the video that I just posted on the channel talking about, does adjusting the seating depth on your bullet, will that actually make an impact on, or will that have an effect on the group size that you see on target, right? And the answer is yes, but I always find it interesting when these types of questions are asked within the reloading community or the shooting space, whatever you want to call it, industry. And you have people that are very diehard about certain subjects, this being one of them, that this is a way to sort of tune a load to your rifle once you find a good load, or that this is where you should start. You should start with seating depth and then work backwards, going through a different process to sort of land on a really, really good load for your gun. And I always find it interesting when these types of questions are asked, just from the standpoint of knowing if you've been in reloading for any length of time, or you've done it any length of time, then you understand just the amount of variables that are involved in producing quality ammunition, right? The amount of things that could go wrong in terms of making changes along the way in the process, or the components, or even the environmental conditions, and your ability as a shooter. I mean, there's so many things that go into developing a really, really good hand load for your particular setup or situation, right? And not everyone's setup or situation is the same. So you literally have to caveat every step of the way, and then caveat everything that goes along with every step of the way. That's the way it feels, at least. Half the time when I make videos, it feels like I'm always throwing disclaimers out there, caveats of, well, this is why I do it this way because it works for me and what I'm trying to accomplish, because what I'm trying to accomplish probably won't be the same as the next 10 people that you ask, what are you trying to accomplish, right? We might not have necessarily exactly the same goal in mind. But I just thought it was interesting, and I was like, well, I was kind of thinking about that question once I posted that video. And I was like, how about we just turn to artificial intelligence, right? Let's head over to a little AI action and see what it has to say, right? And of course, it's always going to be dependent on the prompts that you use, the questions that you ask, sort of the way you interact with it. So, but you can see my prompt here at the very top says, will changing the seating depth of a bullet have a positive or negative effect on the overall group size on target? And then this is the ChatGPT response, right? You can read here, but essentially what it's saying is that when you change the seating depth, it could be a positive or a negative effect on the group size. So then it just kind of goes into what is seating depth, right? It gives you a very general answer on what seating depth is. It refers to how deeply the bullet is seated in the cartridge case, which that affects the jump to the lands, the case volume, bullet alignment with bore, and then it gives you kind of a list. Since I put in my prompt positive or negative, I think that's why it gave both, kind of like pros and cons, right? So here are the positive attributes, or the response that it generated. Just sort of improved accuracy, enhanced consistency, improved bullet alignment with the bore, reducing the yaw of the bullet, and then that statement there, precision shooters, they find a sweet spot, right, of seating depth can tighten groups dramatically, often by 30 to 50% or more. Again, don't know where it's pulling that data from. Surely somewhere it's gathering all that info. Let's see, negative effects. If not optimized, you can worsen your accuracy. You can cause pressure spikes if you see the bullet too deeply. And you can introduce inconsistencies if jump is too variable or erratic. So, interesting. And then it goes on to say you can tune your seating depth, right? A common method is start 20 to 30 thousandths off the lands, load small batches with seeding depth varied in 5 to 10 thousandths increments, record group sizes at 100 yards or more, right? So it's kind of walking you through, telling you this is how commonly, this is, I guess, a commonly accepted practice of tuning seeding depth, right? And then in summary, yes, changing seeding depth can improve group size, but only with methodical testing. The effect is highly rifle and load specific. A small seeding depth change, even 5 thousandths, can make a significant difference. Then it says, would you like a step-by-step method for performing a seeding depth test? I did give it the thumbs up reaction whenever I got that. I thought that was a pretty interesting response to that prompt, and so of course I said yes. It says, great, here's a step-by-step guide to perform a seeding depth test to optimize group size. This is a time-tested method used by precision reloaders and competitive shooters. You start with a goal, right? Find seeding depth where your rifle consistently produces small groups, blah, blah, blah. What you'll need, it tells you what you need: fire form brass, bullet primer powder, same lot for consistency, calipers, bullet comparator, Hornady or Sinclair type recommended, powder scale or trickler, seeding die with fine adjustments, target with grid or bullseye zones, and a clean barrel, okay? Step-by-step seeding depth test. Determine the bullet's touch point. All right, use a tool like a Hornady OAL gauge to find the cartridge-based ogive measurement where the bullet just touches the rifling, called the lands. Record this as your baseline. Choose test increments. Common starting test depths are basically 0. What they're referring to is jam, and that's a point that people can argue that no, that's just a touch point. That's not technically jam. You could go 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 thousandths off the lands. Pick 4 to 6 seeding depths in 5 to 10 thousandths increments. Typical test might include, so then it shows you, right, what a typical test might be. This helps find where your bullet likes the jump. Load identical test rounds. Load 3 to 5 rounds per seeding depth. 5 is better. Of course, the what is it? Little Crow Gun Works, the group size police, or the whatever he calls them. It's funny. The sample size police, they'll get on you. You really need like 5,000 rounds per seeding depth is what they'll tell you, so it can be statistically significant. No, I'm kidding. It's more like 20 to 30. Keep everything else constant: powder charge, primer, case prep, blah, blah, blah. Seat bullets using a micrometer seeding die to ensure consistent ogive-based measurement. Shoot for groups. Fire from a stable bench rest or prone on bags. Let the barrel cool slightly between groups. Target at 100 yards or more if skilled and conditions allow. So that's something too, where obviously your conditions, that's what I was talking about, right? That's one of those variables that everything affects everything when it comes to this stuff. So you have to be aware of that. Record each group carefully in its exact seeding depth. Analyze the results, measure each group size, center to center spread, look for smallest group consistency, any noticeable vertical or horizontal stringing. Often one depth will show a significant improvement in group size. That's your starting point for further refinement. And then the step 6 here, the fine tune, which is optional. Once promising seeding depth is found, maybe an example is 20 thousandths off the lands, you can test around it in smaller increments, right? So then it goes down to 2 thousandths increments, right? Testing 2 thousandths longer, 2 thousandths shorter on either side. Notes and tips: obviously you want to keep track of everything. Don't chase tiny group improvements past the rifle's mechanical limits. Cleaning the barrel between groups can help keep results consistent, especially with fouling sensitive barrels. Yep, that's true. And then it says, would you like a printable data sheet or logbook template to record your test results? So of course I said yes. It says, here's a printable seeding depth test data sheet you can use to record and analyze your results. You can copy this into a notebook, spreadsheet, or print it directly. So then seeding depth test log sheet. This is what all it spit out, right, on your log sheet. And then group data table. So that's kind of what it spit out as well. And then you can also plot, graphical. You can use a graph to plot all that. And then would you like this in a downloadable PDF or Excel format? Of course I said yes. and then there it is. Click on that, and it'll be a doc that you can use to print that off. So then I concluded with, I said thank you, and it says you're very welcome. Good luck with your load development. May your groups be tight and your SDs low. Let me know anytime you need help with ballistics, data analysis, or anything else. So there we go, guys. That, I mean, I don't know. That's you guys tell me, but that seems like a pretty halfway decent. Just start with the starting prompt, right? You guys can read it. I mean, that's not bad advice there from old ChatGPT, and obviously it goes a lot deeper than that. There's some things just reloading wise, right? There's a lot of basics and fundamentals that you really need to make sure you have in place before you start down the path of this type of testing. I mean, you want to have your processes down almost to a science where everything is as repeatable as possible. That's going to be key during a test like this. But I was just curious, I wondered what ChatGPT would have to say about this, type of prompt. So threw it in there, and that's what it spit out. I don't know. What do you guys think? Can AI, is that the future, right? Is that the future of reloading? We're just going to use AI to run simulations on what our groups would be on target, and then we never go pull the trigger? Because I got to be honest with you, that's how half the folks on here act, at least in my opinion. I mean, I think a lot of people, I don't think they shoot as much as they should. I think they type on their keyboard way more than they should. What you need to do is go to your reloading bench, load up some of your own ammo, hit the range, and just go shoot, right? Period. That's sort of how I feel about the matter. But that's it. That's where we're going to leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Just a little bit of a different video. But when I was thinking about it and I put it in ChatGPT, I was like, man, this thing is spitting out some interesting information, and this seems kind of neat. So I just wanted to do a screen record and show you guys that. So I hope, let's see, let's scroll back down here. Yeah, I like the data table and stuff. That's pretty interesting. But hope y'all have a good one. We'll catch you next time.